Hey kids, it's Pastor Alston
And Mr. Brandon.
here with this week's Big Truth. So as you guys know, we're in our series of Advent, and we're actually on week 3 of Advent, and each week we introduce a new key word in our Big Truth, right? So who remembers our first key word from 2 weeks ago? Anybody remember? All right, if you said hope, then you're exactly right. So we talked about that Jesus followers hope in the King. All right, so let's talk about last week. Who remembers the key word from last week's Big Truth? Anybody? All right, if you said trust, that's exactly right. We learned last week that Jesus followers trust the King. So this week we have a brand new Big Truth, and that Big Truth is Jesus followers worship the King. Jesus followers worship the King. So we're going to be talking about the keyword of worship. So you guys know, where is that found? It's our Bible verse, right? So our Bible verse is where our Big Truth is found, and this week it's in Romans chapter 12, verse 1. I'm going to read it for you guys, and here's what I want you to do while I read it. I want you to think about and see if you hear the key word in our Bible verse for this week. All right, so Romans 12:1. I appeal to you, therefore, brothers, by the mercy of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual act of worship. Anybody hear the Big Truth in there? Let me read it one more time. I appeal to you, therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. All right, so that was the last word. That was their keyword, worship. So we're learning this week that Jesus followers, those of us who follow Jesus, we worship the King. So Mr. Brandon is here, and he's got a hook for us this week around that Big Truth.
Yeah, so before we jump into our hook, I want to take one of our big ideas and help unpack that big truth just a little bit. And that big idea I want to use this week is we are worshipers. So when God created us, He created us to worship. He created us really to worship Him. But in our sin, we long to worship things of this world. So it's games, or for parents it might be a car or a nice house or something like that. Not really the things that we really should be worshiping. When we should be worshiping God and His Son, Jesus Christ. So this week for our hook, I want you to go to our resource page and print out this page right here with the heart. And I want each one, parents, you do the same thing. Write down inside this heart 1, 2, maybe 3 things that you love, or that you long for. For me, I would probably write on there, I want a new truck. And just talk about what those things are and how we are worshiping those things. But continue the conversation at home and talk about how Jesus is so much better than the things that we wrote down on those heart. Maybe print out a second one and write Jesus in the heart and post it around your home somewhere just to remind us that we are created to worship Jesus.
I hope you guys do that activity together. Last thing is that we've got our Bible passage, our Bible story for this week. So as you guys know, we're in the book of Matthew. So we're kind of walking through the Christmas story, the true Christmas story. And that's the story of the wise men coming to worship Jesus. So again, it's our Big Truth being played out in our Bible story. It's illustrating our Bible story of that wise men came to worship the King. So we're going to introduce a new segment here just for the next couple of weeks, and it's called Fun Fact. So I'm going to see if you guys know this fun fact about the true Christmas story, all right? So I'm going to kind of ask the question, you guys at home, talk with one another and see if you can come up with the right answer. So here's the fun fact. Are you ready? All right, so how many wise men came to worship Jesus the King? How many wise men came to worship Jesus the King? Brandon, any thoughts?
3.
3, you know, that's a really good guess, Did anybody at home say 3? All right, I have a feeling that there may have been a few. Well, guess what? You're wrong, right? So here's the deal. The reason why is because we've kind of grown up thinking that there are 3 wise men, but If you go to our Bible story for this week, you're not going to ever see that there were 3 wise men. That's not in Scripture, right? So that's a fun fact for you. Now, the reason why, obviously, that we think that there's 3 wise men is because there were 3 gifts that they brought. But so it's just kind of fun to kind of really get down to the real truth of the story. But the whole point of the story, though, is not how many wise men or even what gifts they brought, is that the wise men worshiped the King. And so that's our big truth, is that Jesus followers, those of us who follow Jesus, we worship the King. So I hope you guys have a great week, and we will see you next week.
See you next week, guys.